will be led by Peter. So the Chief Strategy Officer in Perfect Gym, who worked with Adam for many years, and it will be more practical. And then Natasha will lead the second part, and it will be more technical and with more tips and tricks for you how to use it during your hackathon and how to sell your idea in 5-minute pitch. So Peter, you can start.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Much appreciated. I was just thinking, I think it was Martin just talked about the first Zoom meeting. I heard a great saying the other day suggesting that you might become a Zombie after the amount of Zoom meetings that we've all had to do in the last few months. So I like that one. I thought I'd reuse it. Yeah. So listen, Adam asked me just to connect with you guys and help you out before your upcoming hackathon, which sounds like a lot of fun. And just give you some ideas on how practically you might deliver a great pitch in a short amount of time. So Adam and I, as you said, Alexander, go back a long way. And we have this particular style of working where basically I throw a few ideas at him and he puts the deck together and then I pitch it, regardless of whether that's on Zoom or in front of hundreds of people or whatever. So I thought we could just quickly write down what that looks like and how we go about it and then share it with you. So if you're ready, I'll just jump straight in and help you out as you think about your endeavors to speak publicly. So the first thing is confidence and purpose, really.
Oh, Pete, we can't see your screen.
Oh, that's a really good point. Be confident.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't
Enough confidence just to go through it without the PowerPoint deck.
Exactly. Funny because I can't see it either, right?
There you go.
All right, you see it okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Now he's there.
Excellent, great stuff. Okay, so yeah, so really this is all about personal confidence, right? Wear something you feel great in, feel confident about yourself, think about something that makes you feel great before you go on, maybe go for a brisk walk around the block, just, get yourself into a position where you feel great, right? And it's going to come across. It's going to come across to your audience and they're going to bond to you. So confidence is critical. In the early stages, just start to calm back down once you're back out in front of people and take a breath, right? There's time. Your audience want you to be successful. So just, think about that. Take an early breath, calm yourself down, and it gives you a much better start as you go into the content. You've probably already picked up that I've tried to connect with a few people. So I mentioned Alexandra by name, Martin by name, told you a little story about Adam and I and so on. I've made eye contact with you. Clearly not as easy on Zoom as it is in public, but it's a really important thing because it connects you to the people and it allows your audience to connect back to you. So even if you just drop one in there, try and get a response and a smile. I've already seen that Alexandra has given me a smile as I mentioned her name, and there's another one you see. So connections really make a difference. And then, tell a personal story, give a feel about yourself. So you can see a really good picture of a yacht that looks like it's, about to have something pretty hectic go on. And in fact, in racing, we were very close to broaching on this. I'm the guy right at the very back on this boat. The great thing was 5 minutes later, we crossed the line and we actually won that race. So you can go from a position of being very hectic and very uncomfortable to being in a really successful position. So think about sharing that story, allow people to connect to something about you that's really quite nice for them to know. Even better if it connects to the topic, to the area you're thinking about, but try and connect that person to you. So think about purpose. Why are you doing this? Why are you delivering this pitch? Why do people care about the fact that you're stood up in front of them for the next 5 to 10 minutes, right? And the best way to do that is to think about intent, set some goals, and then set some expectations for the audience, right? So, my intent for you is very simple, is to say that by the end of this, my intent is that you have good enough knowledge about standing up and speaking in front of people that you can go away and take that information and use it, right? My goal is that you choose me over anybody else that pitches this to you. And you remember what I had to say for you, and you choose my proposition over anyone else's, right? So think about that in terms of your hackathon. You're trying to sell at the end of the day. Everything is selling. And then finally, set some expectations. So I expect of you that by the end of this presentation, you can make a decision. You can make a decision about what I've had to say to you, and ultimately then about the piece of the puzzle that you have to do as a judge or an audience, make a decision over the great things that you've seen, and pick me. So from there, you move on to content. So this is a really important section, clearly, but if you've set it up nicely, if you've been confident, if you've set purpose, then the content then becomes a lot easier. So I have a very simple rule. I've used it in many speeches, but I've also used it in the 4 times that I've been best man in my life. And what it does, this little rule of 3, is it helps you if you get lost, and it helps you just bring out the things that you wanted to say. If you get out of order, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, all you're doing is remembering 3 things. And every time you remember one of those things, the 3 points come through. So in essence, there's 3 sections of this presentation. Confidence and purpose is 1, content is 2, and then close and be memorable is 3. Okay, so there's your 3 sections. Think about 3 topic areas. So within the content, the 3 topic areas are quite simply the rule of 3. So I'm going to teach you that. Validation, how do you validate what you're saying so you're believable? And then finally, how do you visualize it so you're memorable? I think, Adam, that this deck's going to be forwarded afterwards, right? So you're going to have this framework to fall back on. And ultimately, I know you've been told about things like, no more than 10 slides or 12 slides. This will really help you achieve that. So then your 3 points, so for example, in the validation section, I'm going to give you a key statistic, which is a great idea, a main point, and then I recommend that you focus, okay? So the rule of 3, if we then go on to validation, in essence, what you're doing is you're setting up a story, you're creating a main point, something that you want your audience to come away with. For me, that's the rule of 3. So my main point is the rule of 3. I'm going to give you a statistic. So here's a funny one. Did you know that 81% of statistics are actually made up? Who would have guessed it, right? And guess what? That is also one that's made up. But it's an important thing, right? You've gone to that 81%. You can see it on screen. It's now validating my main point. And as a result, I'm going to remember that as an audience. And then finally, focus. You can have more text on the page than maybe the 3 points that you want to make. The audience will read it, and that's good, because sometimes it can back up what you're trying to achieve. But make sure you focus on the 3 things that you want to say on that slide. So from validation, we move on to how do I help myself, right? How do I make this work for me? And there's a couple of ways. One is be on brand with your visuals, right? So if you're pitching to a company like Adidas, let's make sure we use their visuals, right? They're clearly great visuals. They've got great marketing teams. So use those and help people identify and connect back to you as an audience. Leave yourself visual prompts within the process, right? So you can see here that I've just bolded out a couple of words. What it allows me to do is keep eye contact with you and quickly scan across to my deck and know that the next thing I'm going to talk about is basically visual prompts, right? Finally, remember that the audience actually is there wanting you to succeed, right? Particularly your peers in this hackathon. They want you to be successful. Nobody wants you to fail. Nobody wants you to be nervous. have confidence, know that the audience wants you to be successful. So, how do I close? How can I be memorable? Well, really very simply, right? Pick out that key point. So the key point, the summary that I want you to take away from this is really all about the 3 points, right? The rule of 3. If you take that away and you put that into your deck, then I'm confident that you will be able to flow through it and you'll deliver your message very, very well. Complete the goal. So if you set out with a goal, ask the audience at the end of it. So my question to you is, do you know the rule of 3? Do you understand the rule of 3? And would you consider using it? I'm actually going to pause there and wait for somebody to say yes or no.
Yes, I would.
There you go. Eventually it will come. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.
So complete that goal, and then ultimately, satisfy the expectation. So my expectation is that you could make a choice as to whether or not to use the rule of 3 and this structure of a presentation in your hackathon that's coming up in a short while. Actually, don't know when it is, but so you can make that decision as to whether it's a good thing. So be memorable. So, are you going to remember me for the 15, 20 minutes that I stood up in front of you and offered you some advice? I love this picture, not because it's a picture of me, but actually just the lighting, the fact that I'm smiling, the fact that I wore a white shirt is different to the 2 other speakers in the background. And that's about confidence. It's about enjoying it. And it's about connecting with the audience, which is what I intended to do. And then finally, close out anything with your name. And for me, my name is Peter Croft. I'm happy to have stepped in for Adam. You may remember me as the sailing guy who taught you the rule of 3. Let me stop there. Adam, I know that was a little quicker than we had intended, but it flowed so easily today. Let me ask anyone, do you have any questions? Is there anything that you would like to ask me or talk about to help you out as you think about your presentations?
Actually, I have one question. What do you do when you feel like when audience is like not interesting, because it's hard to keep the audience interested all the time?
It is difficult. And a couple of things there, if you think about TED Talks, right? One of the things that TED Talks has taught us is short is better, right? A 20-minute TED Talk, it always used to be about an hour, right? And it used to be about lots of content and over delivery. You have more chance of keeping people interested if you keep your focus, you deliver main consistent points, you have a statistic that helps you, and you connect with that audience. You're trying to get a smile, maybe tell a joke, try and draw the audience to you as a person, and then be calm. But yeah, sometimes the audiences aren't as interested as you would like them to be, and that's okay. Try and find somebody in the audience who is, and talk to them and draw out that connection.
Okay, thank you.
Caro, I can say, if I can also add point from my side, Hitchcock was saying, start from the storm.
I'm sorry, say again.
Hitchcock was saying that start your speech from the storm, and then you can be sure that they will be interested.
That's true, actually. Deliver, a raging thunderstorm right at the beginning, and then, this is the problem we're trying to solve, right? I love it. Absolutely. So your main point is right up there, and then hit home with that statistic. I fully agree.
Yeah, I have one question, Peter. Do you have any rituals before your speaking or before your presentations or something?
It's a great question, actually. So the things I did before this presentation, I walked for 10 minutes briskly, just to clear my head outside. It got the blood flowing, and it meant that I could be lively and interesting, or interested, if you like. I do take a breath. So the reason for taking 2 or 3 breaths before you start is to get rid of the carbon dioxide, is to open up your lungs so that you can have good oxygen flow to the brain. And then in terms of, if I'm in a large audience, in a large room, I'll do 2 things. One is I'll make sure that I watch anybody who's before me who's relevant, and I'll typically have a point that I pick out that I'll deliver in my own speech, so I can connect back to something that's happened that the audience has seen. Secondly, and again, this is in a room, less so on Zoom, but I will be in the room and I'll be standing up. So being in a standing up position allows you to feel more powerful in the room, right? So being stood up. And then finally, I'll be up the front quite early on, so that I can see who's coming in. I can connect with people. I can smile at a few people as they walk in, and just make sure they know that I'm comfortable in this space. So to get comfortable, it's a little harder to do on Zoom, I'll be honest. And my ritual on Zoom is much more about have my content ready, have my deck set up and showing. Thank you, Adam, for me failing my primary function as a speaker.
You crushed it.
So yeah, it's about being prepared and being comfortable.
Hello, I'm Thomas. If I can ask a question. Peter, I can imagine that one of the challenges that our hackathon participants will have soon will be to actually stream their presentations, or streamline actually. There will be, after 2 days of working heavily on a task in quite big teams, 5 to 6 people. So most probably they would have come up with amazing ideas, very well refined, maybe with even some drawings or prototypes, and then they're expected to present it in 5 minutes. So basically, even following the rule of 3, how would you come up with the shaving process? So basically, to really refine and stay with from all this great content with actually this what you want to present in 5 minutes.
Yeah, Thomas, it's a great question, a really good question. So the first thing I would say is you're not going to deliver all that content. So the quicker you get your head around that, the more likely you are to be successful. The second thing I would say is you're there to tell a story. And the output of that story, the goal might be that you get enough interest that your audience is going to look somewhere else for more content. And for example, you might put a link on the end of the presentation that allows people to go to that more detailed drawing. And then remember you have to visualize this, right? So having a super detailed drawing that's going to distract from what you're talking about is not as good as having a lightweight idea of a drawing showing the main point that you would deliver from the drawing. So slimming it all down is a fundamental point. And the reality is you will never deliver all of the content you want to. So tell a story, think about the framework from the beginning. And then as you put your content into that framework, you'll already be filtering. And then as you go through it 2 or 3 times, then you'll get it down to nothing or a good volume. And the final thing is, if you're working in teams of 5, everybody in that team should present to the other 4 2 or 3 times in the preparation process. And that will help you slim down what you're going to say, because the job of that audience is to say too much, didn't get the point, that statistic isn't right, didn't understand the story. How do we tweak that together?
Perfect. Thank you very much.
And by the way, Thomas, that's exactly what Adam and I do. So I throw him a framework. He corrects or adjusts or gives feedback on that framework. He then adds content. I look at it. I decide whether that's the story I wanted to tell, I adjust it, and by the time we've done 3 iterations, we've got a comfortable deck that we're both happy with.
Tried and true method.
I have a question, if I may.
Of course.
I joined a little bit later, so I assume you haven't covered that. I would like to ask you for still some tips when it comes to virtual presentation, because like I find it so much different from the regular one where you stand in front of people, you have this live interaction. You also are standing on your both feet, and this helps a lot, like especially for me. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that and give some of the tricks or how to, how to conduct that one, and especially how to make the connection with the speakers, like, on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, it's really good question, Alina. So first thing, I'm standing up. So I'm at a sit to stand desk because I feel better standing up in this environment. So do everything you can to do that. Because quite honestly, being sat at a desk leaning forward is it doesn't feel good. So I agree, stand up.
Exactly.
Right at the beginning, we talked about trying to connect. And the way I connect is, Alina, I've used your name twice now. So, Martin, I chatted to right at the beginning. Thomas asked a great question. I'll be looking particularly in virtual meetings at the chat that's happening. So if somebody has made the effort to speak to me on the chat, I'll try and bring that into the conversation, right? So Adam, thank you for your comment. I'm going to cover that in a couple of slides, but in essence, what I think is this, right? And use it to draw back into the presentation. And then, one of the hardest things is being the only voice. And you don't know if you're not getting any feedback, so try and ask those questions. So you saw me ask a question and wait that uncomfortable period for an answer. Well, the answer came, and then I wasn't the only voice, and it starts to bring, the group together. It is harder, and yet it's easier too, because you can be in your safe space and, you're not actually literally up in front of 100 people or 35 people, right? Does that help?
Yeah, thanks.
So maybe I will have a questions, because our participants will have a Q&A session after each and every presentation with the judges. So the question will be, what if as a team, you don't know the answer for the question? So what are your tips for giving a right answer if you don't know one?
That is a brilliant question, and it can feel like the most uncomfortable moment of your life, right? The first point is, don't bullshit. If you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer, right? Somebody will call you out. So it's perfectly okay to say, you know what, let me come back to you on that, because you've asked a question there that I hadn't thought of or that I haven't prepared in advance for, but it's a great question. And I would like to come back to you and potentially the whole audience on that. So remember, these people want you to be successful. They don't want to put you in a position that you're scared or you can't answer the question. So, just be honest and open. One alternative to that is to have an expert with you, right? So if you've got your team of 5 in the audience, then, don't hesitate to ask Thomas. Say, Thomas, you know what? I don't know the answer to this, but do you have that? No? Okay, Thomas hasn't got it either. We're going to have to come back to you. Or he'll say, yeah, you know what? I can answer that for you. So use the people around you.
Thank you.
Well, listen, I'm coming up against time here, but the great thing here is that there's been a bunch of questions, and that typically means that there's been some interest in the content. And I'm going to close again for you. I would really encourage you to use the rule of 3 to trim down. And it's been a pleasure just to meet you all You know my name, Peter Croft. If I can help in any way, drop me a note and via Adam, and I'll help you in whatever way I can. And good luck with your hackathon.
Thank you, Pete, very much. Always appreciative. Awesome presentation.
Pleasure. Thank you, mate. I'll drop now, and I'll wish you luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you,
So
bud.
team, the second part will be led by Natasha. Natasha, are you with us?
Yes, I was hiding
Good.
myself behind the black square. Hi, guys. First of all, I'm happy to see you all. Unfortunately, I was not able to wear nice Adidas shirt to be cool like you are, some of you, because I'm freezing here in Kiev, so it's still winter. Sorry for this. And actually, never in my life I had such a warm-up done by, you know, such a charismatic and professional speaker. I'm so proud of myself, despite he spoiled a little bit also my content. But the repetition is always good, you know, for digesting information and accommodating a little bit better the knowledge. So shall we start with a more maybe theoretical thing? Yeah. I was thinking also that on one hand, it was amazing warm up, and on the other hand, I really think I have to improve my English. So let's see how it goes now, because this was really a benchmark, most probably I will never achieve. So perfect pitch. As I understood, you guys are going to have a hackathon, which will last for 48 hours, quite a challenging thing. And as a result of this 2 days of nonstop working, you have to deliver something in 5 minutes, which is another challenge. How to put huge number of ideas, cool things into very short and concise presentation. Let's think and let's have a look what we can do with this challenge. And I hope I will be helpful for you with this task. So first of all, let's just shortly talk about the norms of our session. And actually, it was a question from Alina about a virtual presentation. And this will be a nice bridge also to your question. So set the norms also before you start your presentation. So to feel comfortable for you and for your audience is super important. So what we have. So you have a microphone. If you want to say something and there is a time to say something, use it, unmute yourself. You can raise your hand. You can put questions into the chat. I will get back to the chat and to the questions if they are there. Concerning the being here and at least trying to share your feedback, which is extremely important while talking about a virtual session, share your emotions. For those guys who are new on Zoom, which is cool, you learned something new today. You have nice emotions you can share during my presentation. I would be happy to see that something is resonating. Thanks God there is no dislike thing, so I will only see nice faces or something. So you can take the notes. I will try to keep timing. And please do not use your mobile phones actively, because be here, be with me, be with us. It's important. It's not a long session, so you will survive. Keep yourself muted. And if something going wrong, just reconnect. Unfortunately, internet is unpredictable. This is the nightmare of every trainer, that the internet disappears. So please don't panic, just connect again. And this is my private thing, which I really appreciate you to follow. Please keep your cameras on as much as you can, because this gives an opportunity to feel like we are in the class and we see each other. And if you don't do this, then karma gets back to you. And when you present your nice 5-minute pitch, your jury will be sitting behind those black squares, and you will feel like I'm feeling if I see your squares, black squares on the screen. So this works. So karma is a bitch, sorry for my French, but this is the case. What are our objectives actually for today? Since this is not a proper training and we cannot go to the different rooms and do lots of exercises with flip charts, post-its, building something with lots of paper or whatever, still, this is not the lection. So this is let's call it interactive webinar. So I will be asking you to talk to me via chat. And I see you already familiar with this. So let's try to be in a dialogue. So first of all, we will try to learn how to pitch effectively with this limited time. And let's get acquainted with some rules of pitching, just to manage your expectations. This is not about the rules you have to follow, and if you don't, you fail. No, it's not like this. So this is just a piece of advice for you, which you might use, or it's up to you whether you're using this or not. But anyways, I hope it might be helpful for you to structure and to stay straight to the point when you are delivering your super challenging 5-minute pitch. This content is prepared for you by international consulting and training company Develor. We are market leader in Central Eastern Europe, so happy to see different countries here as well. So Viva Central Eastern Europe. These are clients, we're super proud of them, and I just put the Adidas in the middle of this so that you understand that how cool it is also for us to work with such a great company. Few words about myself. So my name is Natasha. I'm working for Develor Ukraine. So cheers from Kiev, freezing, still freezing Kiev. I used to work for, oh my God, 18 years. Really, I started to work very early, let's put it this way, in different FMCG companies. Most probably the most important fact from my biography, which I really hope will help me to connect with you guys, is that I have 11 pairs of Adidas sneakers. 5 of them are Stan Smith. So I think it should help, you know, and I'm not going to stop. So I still continue to collect more limited edition things. So I'm absolutely brand lover, super happy to be with you. And this is really an honor. Okay, so we most probably all have been there while having super cool ideas, super important mega projects. And we are absolutely in love with this project. And you will be in love with your ideas during this 48 hours, believe me. And you will understand every single details, and you will have a crystal clear understanding. But when it comes to deliver this to someone who didn't spend with you 48 hours, it's a little bit different case. So you really feel a pain how to put all these ideas all together into 5-minute thing. So tell me if this situation sounds familiar to you. I'm expecting pluses in chat if you are feeling this pain or already did, and I don't know, no, or minus if no. So pluses are coming. So we are in this shit together. Sorry, guys. Very good. Okay, then we have things to learn. Thank you for being active. I see that there are human beings on the other side of the screen. Very good. Thank you. So everyone has this situation. Okay, so what is the agenda of today's short session? First of all, we will pay attention to what is important while we're starting preparation. Then we will go through the structure. Once again, this is an advice, and your structure might be different. So diversity of opinions, we celebrated, but it might be helpful for you to stay straight to the point. Then we will go to the presentation itself. So now it's clear it's most probably will be the virtual one with maybe help of slides, or depending on your level of creativity. Let's see. We will talk a little bit about the roles in the team, because as I understood, you will be working in teams of 5 or 6 people. So it's important to understand how to split the responsibility within the team and how to deal with the questions. It was already spoiled by you, so I see that this is the interesting thing, and let's discuss it a little bit more in details later on. So this is the agenda. If you are guys fine with this, so let's start. And coming to the question, I put it like to pitch or not to pitch, we definitely understand that for now, this format of pitching is extremely important. So when we have super cool ideas, unfortunately, it doesn't work if we cannot sell the idea. If we know how to sell it, but we cannot do it simply, it doesn't work again, right? So this is extremely super important tool for nowadays. So yes, the answer should be to pitch. What is also interesting that the transformation is going in all the companies, and maybe you remember, I don't know for how long are you in such a business, but we used to have like 2 hours meetings with one speaker who was talking for 2 hours about whatever super important things. And it doesn't work like this today. So it's a little bit more about being short, being straight to the point. And this is, the pitch is really the currency of today's business. And I heard a very interesting story about pitch. I watched a documentary on YouTube about the guys living in Silicon Valley. And it was a guy from Belarus working for, I think, YouTube or Google, I don't remember. And he was telling the story about his 6 or 7 years old kid who was constantly asking parents to get a dog. And they were like founding all the time, lots of arguments why it's not the right time, you know, for the dog now, and so on and so forth. And one day this kid came, let them sit in front of the screen and just did a 5-minute pitch why dog is extremely important, how to split the responsibility, and what benefits this family will have after getting a dog. And so now they have a dog. So it works even with this kind of things. So when we learn how to pitch, we can really benefit from this, not only in hackathons, but in our daily life. What if you will pitch that this Land Rover or Range Rover is extremely important for you to get for the birthday or something like this? Why not? So it might be helpful. And now I would like to ask you to scan this QR code and answer one question, just for us to understand how good are we within the group with the skills of delivering pitches. So please take your smartphone and scan this QR code, and I will share the results. I hope you already managed to scan it. So I give you another 10 seconds to scan, and then we move to see the results. So let's see, you vote. Oh, very good. It's coming. Did once. I did pitching several times. Very good. We have super professional audience. Pitch, what is this also? This will be the, probably for this person, this will be super interesting session. Never tried. And thanks God for now, we don't have anyone to say, I can teach you how to pitch. So I still have something to do. Very good. So there are people who did pitching several times. So please be active, then share your opinions as well, so that we can benefit from your experience. So if there are some life hacks or hints, do not hesitate to share, please. Perfect. Super. So 22 people voted. We are more than 22, but it gives at least understanding that you are quite experienced guys in pitching. So then it will be maybe repetition for you, which is never bad. Thank you for being active. So let's get back to our slides. And maybe you have also in your life, in your professional life situation, when someone in your team, for example, was super cool in delivering pitches, and his or her ideas, despite they were maybe not that, complementary to the business, or they were looking like a bubble, but they were sold so good that all the company was, deploying and executing these ideas. And the super example for this, from my point of view, is, maybe you heard about it, this startup Theranos. And this girl who managed, to collect, I don't know, millions, billions of dollars. And she was extremely cool in delivering these pitches. So she managed, to sell the idea. But sometimes there are super cool ideas and you really understand that this will be, the business success, but unfortunately it doesn't work because it was not presented in a proper way. So let's do not under-evaluate it. But at the same time, some presentations are very boring. So this is another thing we need to fight with, not to be boring, to keep attention of the audience and try to be interesting. When it comes to preparation, this is my favorite quote. I love it really because it's so meaningful. And we know well that if there is 2 hours of talk in front of us, I mean, you can just improvise. You start talking, you think out loud, you do whatever, you change your topic, you engage your audience, whatever, and you just really do a stand-up, yeah? If we're talking about the 5 minutes or 10 minutes, oh my God, but really you need to prepare for, I don't know, a week. You need to do so much scanning of the information you are going to share and to put everything together. It was a nice question, yeah, how we delete all the stuff from the presentation. And this is a challenge. So that's why I put the preparation as the main thing for us to start with while we're talking about the 5-minute pitch. So while talking about the preparation, first of all, we need to understand what is our goal. And this was already said. And the goal might be different. So it might be getting yes or no from the jury, or approval of $100 million budget or something like this. But not only this, goal is also the things, what you want them to feel after you did the pitch, what you want them to do after you did the pitch. So this is also part of the goal. So start thinking already now, what will be the goal of your pitch while going into hackathon. So another question is, who is the target audience? Now we're talking about the jury. So who are those people? Who is this jury consist from? And what is your timing? With timing is clear, it's 5 minutes, easy, no choice. Okay, we're accepting this as a given. But what do we do with the audience? While talking about the jury, please do not consider them as a jury. There are people in this jury, it most probably from different functions. Maybe there is a financial guy, maybe there is a marketing guy, maybe there is a super cool digital guy, and just, you know, the CEO of the company who knows everything. So, and you most probably will need somehow to attract attention of every from these guys, and they definitely might have absolutely different motivation. So why this topic is important to them, why it's so much important for a digital guy and maybe it's less important to the financial guy, think about it, because it's pretty much important. Why this topic matter to them? I mean, despite the fact that they are obliged to be in the jury and to give you evaluation, but most probably this topic matters. But why? And what is the motivation behind? What are the triggers of these guys to say yes or no to your project, to put you, I don't know, 20 points or 5 points of your pitch? What are the pain points? What you need to tackle while presenting your pitch and to get the interest from them? And the thing which also interesting and important is the level of knowledge. Because sometimes we consider many things as a given. If we're talking about, I don't know, search engines, whatever things, and for us it's like a daily routine and we just do an equilibrium with all these words, does not mean that everyone is on the same page, or vice versa. We start explaining super basic stuff to them, not considering that they can even teach us how to do those basic things. So please consider the knowledge level of your audience, meaning your jury in our case, and this really help you to make an unforgettable presentation, not just, you know, 5-minute pitch just to make it, because I mean, you are obliged to make a 5-minute pitch after hackathon and you're already very tired and you already moved from loving your idea to hating your idea and you just want everything to be over. This doesn't work like this. So please manage the expectations of yourself versus the audience and try to be really close to the audience. Create a connection, not only by some nice things like eye contact and in general contact with the audience, but with the topic and the format you presented. Any questions so far? You can unmute yourself, you can put it into the chat, do whatever it's comfortable for you. If not, let's move forward. The structure, once again, you can use it as an advice. You can create your own structure, depends on you, it's up to you, but the structure is super, extremely, mega important. While transmitting the information, it should be a kind of structure. First of all, it helps you to stay somehow logical and to follow the flow. And it helps a lot your audience to understand, because structure helps. And if we're talking about the structure of a 5-minute pitch, what would be the thing you start from? You can put your answers into the chat. What would you start from? I'm getting answers. Storm, yes. Okay. The problem I'm solving. Okay, the good idea. Storm, you like it, Storm. I mean, I would love to see the storm you're going to create. Hopefully you will share. Bold statement, joke, my favorite one. I love jokes. Getting attention, keyword of problem, icebreaker, super, question, very good ideas, key facts, data, short story. You see the diversity of opinion, it's huge. Introduction, very good. Everything is right. What I recommend you to start with is the introduction of your idea or yourself. I call it title, but it has nothing to do with the first slide with the name. But the right name of the idea, the right name of the presentation or pitch you are going to start really helps a lot to sell the idea. It could be the storm. So the format you do it, it's pretty much different, but you can use different things just to catch the attention. You can start from question. It was also an option in our chat. You can use buzzwords. Imagine, I don't know, what could be the buzzword? If you start your pitch with something, I don't know, connected to Clubhouse, oh my God, but this is the buzzword for today. So most probably everyone will be interested. Use different metaphors. Try to maybe set a little bit of teasing there. So catch attention, and don't forget that you are not the one team. As I understood, since you are like 40, you will be competing even if there is no competition, but you will be competing with each other. And those poor jury sitting, whatever, I don't know how many hours, listening to your 5-minute pitches, they need somehow to, identify that this is already a new presentation started. So how to make it properly with the storm in whatever way you choose. So I would start from this very easily and catch your attention and try to keep this attention further. Then it was also mentioned in the chat, what we do then. It's a problem statement. What is actually this problem you are trying to fix? Why this idea is important? So what is there? And there is a need to provide a context. Because if you jump into your solution, if you jump into your super cool application, amazing in terms of technology, innovation, and all this kind of stuff, super sexy, mega cool, if there is no context, it's kind of tough to understand what actually you are going to solve with this amazing solution. So why this problem is important? Check and prove that this problem does exist. And you will see during your hackathon, as I understood, the design thinking methodology is the fundamental for you. You will definitely have huge amount of data from customers, from your consumers, which will help you to prove that the problem does exist. Because what is sometimes an issue of many companies all over the world, that they create a product and then try to find a solution, or then try to find a problem which is to be solved by this product. And you are going vice versa. So first of all, we're identifying whether there is a problem, and then we get back to solution. And that's why the context is extremely important. And we prepare our jury that there is a drama. You know, there is a problem, there is a pain point, someone is suffering, and now you are coming with the solution to solve it, right? And then it comes to solution. So how it helps to fix it. What I would recommend you, and it helps from many sides, try to describe it in one sentence. Not in an endless sentence, which is also easy, like Dostoevsky did, you know, the sentence which is 10 minutes to read, but very short one sentence. Try to formulate the core ideas. Why it's also important to have this one sentence of your solution, at least for yourself, because then if you have this one sentence, that everyone in your team have the same understanding. Because when it comes to questions after your pitch, it's super important that you have an alignment and you understand your solution absolutely in the same way. Then this will avoid the mess, you know, while explaining and doing this kind of things. And despite it's a virtual thing, try to show your prototype. If your solution is something digital, cool, then it's easy with Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or whatever you use. If it's something physical, so try to show it even, you know, in the camera. It's so cool. It works absolutely different. Instead of words, there is a something. Unfortunately, they cannot touch it, but c'est la vie, à la guerre comme à la guerre, but you can really show it at least in the camera. So do not avoid this opportunity. The next things I also marked it with gray, because you decide whether it's important or not. So it's, from my point of view, maybe not the most important thing. You explain the current status of the situation, maybe you show some metrics, and then it comes to unique selling proposition. And here, maybe not in the way of the product itself, but of the idea and your solution. Because remember, you are how many? Ola might help me, 10 groups, 8 groups, many groups, and you need 7. Very good. So 7, perfect number. But you need somehow to differentiate. Oh my God, I was telling my English. Differentiate yourself from those 7 or 6 groups. So it should be the USP. So please add this, it will help. And definitely, since we are not in a charity, and this is about the business, so it's about scalability, how to scale the idea. Is it scalable, or it's only tackling, you know, very short group of customers or this kind of things? Most probably it's important criteria. And as I remember, there is a criteria about the scalability. Then we're coming to the team. Also addressing maybe a question which we'll be discussing later on. This is a great opportunity for you to share who are in the team, because most probably you won't be able to deliver your presentation like all of you, that there are 6 people and 6 people are talking, you know, one by one or simultaneously. But this is the great thing, to share who are those guys in the team, why you are right guys to do this solution, and also it helps to add a little bit human to human approach. So because we are human beings, it's better to show faces, that there are some vivid people behind the screen and behind the solution. It might be a little bit about the budget. I wish you are in a company where during your hackathon, you will get a condition like budget is unlimited, guys, create whatever you want. But I honestly doubt a little bit. So it might be a budget limitation. I don't know. So maybe it's important to tackle this point. So what will be the budget for a solution? Especially remember the finance guy potentially sitting there. So for him, it might be the most interesting slide ever. And wrap up, key takeaway. And Pete was saying about this as well. So sum up what you were talking and try to focus on key things you want them to remember. And I think this is the best advice ever. When you put everything together and you go through your slides, if we're talking about the slides, because you might have, I don't know, Siri delivering presentation instead of you, or video, or I don't know, George Clooney, whoever. But if there are slides, you guys check, and if there is a slide to be deleted, you just delete it. I mean, if there are doubts whether you need the slide or not, you don't need it, delete it. So make it short. So if we look at this structure on one page, you might see the 9 things might be covered. We have 5 minutes. So it's like a little bit, maybe half a minute on each slide, yeah, to deliver your 5-minute pitch. And you decide where to focus more, where to spend more time. And I would like to ask you to do an exercise, engaging one. For those, I would like you to put stamps on those boxes which you think are most important and you are going to focus more and to spend more time. You go, you have a panel and you have a menu point called annotate. If you find it on your toolbox, maybe it's within the three dots as well. There is a menu called annotate. If you press it, you will see the stamps and you can stamp. If you see it, if you don't see it, and it will look like this, for example, you put the star. Ah, I see stars coming, very good. So everyone is already, guys, super. Okay, let's see what we have. And we have hearts, we have stars. So unique selling proposition is the winner for now with 6 stamps and the problem statement. And the team, Mariola, clearly you are liking the team. Okay, you distributed, okay, I gave you, a biased approach. So number 4 and number 8 is not popular because it's gray, I see. But anyways, the most focus you are going to put on problem statement and unique selling proposition and a wrap up. Very good. I fully agree with you guys. I hope you like this, putting the stamps. I think it's so cool on Zoom. That's why I like it so much more than MS Teams. I swear. Problem statement is the winner. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Thank you for this. And we will get back to this while coming to another tools. And we will remember that we chosen the problem statement, the unique selling proposition as the most important and the focused one. Okay, thank you. All right. So when it comes to presentation, since we are limited and it's not about standing on the stage nicely, doing lots of things, you can use your body language, you can use a flip chart, you can do whatever, you can dance, sing, whatever, touch people, put them from the audience on the stage and so on and so forth. We are limited with the presentation online, but still it's a working tool. If it comes to the visualization, and this was already told by Pete, that's important part, but don't forget, I'm not going now to give you statistics because it was, devaluated a little bit also by a previous speaker, but the majority of people, without using any numbers now, the majority of people requiring the visual background, or if we digesting information, then visual thing is helpful and helps a lot. And you might see it also while listening, for example, to the audiobooks. I mean, I learned to listen to the audiobooks because before you were like, you're starting the book and then you find yourself in the middle of the book and you don't forget what was before and how come you already listened this for 20 minutes and don't remember anything. When you read, it doesn't happen like this, because it's super important to see, and especially if you even write something, then you remember it even better. So visualization is super important, but don't forget that people don't trust slides as much as they trust speakers. So do not delegate, responsibility for your message to the slides, but it's still you who are responsible for the information. Following the number 3 rule, I have another 3 things rule for you. So, which is pretty much aligned, I think, and I like it. The harmony, in the messages is dramatic. So 3 seconds rule, it's about no busy slides. So that your audience needs to invest only 3 seconds to understand what is actually on the slide. So if it's more, oh my God, it's a challenge. So, and they will not listening to you, they will reading your slides, trying to understand what is there. So don't do this, don't lose their attention, their audience attention. And slides provoke emotions. This is super tool to create emotions you want your audience to have. That's why, yeah, better to use quality photography, not that one with the watermarks, you know, with the lots of pixels or whatever, but most probably you are super good in this kind of things. And it helps a lot to illustrate the data, because you will be having huge amount of data during your hackathon, I'm sure. So, and somehow you will need this data to provide the context. Remember, the context is super important. And how to put this, oh my God, data into readable format, definitely huge Excel files will not help. It's disaster. But you can use nice graphs, diagrams, tables, and this kind of things, which super helpful. And slides only repeat the key message. They are not a teleprompter. So don't read everything what is written on your slide, because I mean, people most probably can read already. Being in the jury, most probably the skill of reading is there. So not so interesting, you know, to have it twice, to read it and to hear it then. So keep it in your mind. And this is my favorite. I just put it because, I mean, I love it. It's not about the English. Okay, here I might have excuses, but oh my God, if I see the mistake in Ukrainian, oh, that's disaster. It's an epic fail. I cannot focus anymore on the content. I'm absolutely furious about the mistakes. I don't know why, but okay, this is about myself. But what if there is one person in the jury who is the same grammar Nazi like I am, for example? This ruins everything. I mean, devil is in details. So this is just my personal wish. Like, check your spelling many times. Be on a safe side and simplify. Less words, more infographics, but clear and understandable. Less is more. We repeat it all the time. Super good. And they might add some fun, those slides. So, I mean, meme or whatever, nice GIF, whatever, emotions is so important. And someone from you said that you want to start from joke. Do not only start from joke. You can use jokes all the time. I mean, not overdoing, so not to create, not to convert your pitch into stand-up, but it might add some fun. And it's this super human touch, which you can add to your pitch. And vocabulary, very important. I don't know how you guys are in Adidas, but in all my previous jobs, we had this, you know, a special language that normal person will never understand, with 1 million of acronyms, different weird things. And if you are familiar with this, does not 100% mean that everyone from the jury do also understand. So it's important. Do not oversimplify, but check the vocabulary so it's a little bit closer to the human language. It helps. Any questions to the visualization part? I will check the chat. What is in the chat? 2 hours. Alexandra told very. I'm reading. You see, with the huge jet lag, 2 hours 70. So okay. So be concise. This is another important thing, because it's disaster when the presentation is endless and you don't see the light in the end of the tunnel, and it's going and going. Even if it's 5 minutes, sometimes it seems like it's an eternity already went, because people don't like it. I mean, this is the waste of their time and they get annoyed. So don't do this to them. So again, less is more, less is more. We repeat it already, I don't know how many times, but it works. So less is more. And actually, as Albert Einstein said at the very beginning of my presentation, so I used his quote as well, that if you cannot explain it simply, most probably you are not that good in the topic. So being short and concise shows that you are super good in this topic. So don't worry, it does look like you are very shallowish or something. But do not oversimplify. So 2 less is not more. So just try to keep the balance, stay, you know, on the edge, but do not oversimplify, not to make it not simple, but primitive. This doesn't work very good. So be concise. Pete was also saying things about being memorable, and let's check. What did you remember? What was the most memorable thing from his speech? You can share it in the chat, please. Let's check how it works. Not that we're challenging him, not at all, but just interesting. Sailor says, yacht, you see, rule of 3. Rule of 3. Fanny says that it's the 81 statistic. By the way, I do also remember this, and I already used it, by the way. Statistics are mostly made up. Yeah, that's why I didn't use also the numbers. Confident. If you don't know the answer, don't bullshit. I think that this acronym is about bullshitting, right, Martin? Sailing guy walking before presentation. Yeah, so you see pretty much different memories from the presentation. And then we will need to ask actually the Pete what he wanted us to remember. And I think it was 3 rules, and that he's the sailor guy, you see. But it works, so it's really a memorable speech. Thank you, guys. So the very important thing while we're talking about being memorable, and here we're coming to the people's, how to say it, psychology, because we remember better always something what was experienced with emotions. Because if I will ask you now, do you guys remember your first kiss? And you most probably would say yes. And if I would ask you, do you remember when it was winter or it was summer, or what way you were wearing, jeans or shorts? I don't know, you most probably will tell me that it was a summer, blah, 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 you were there. And you will remember all the details. But if I ask you what was the breakfast on Friday last week, you most probably will not tell me anything, except unless you had the first kiss during this Friday breakfast, then you most probably will remember. But which shows us that everything which is connected with the emotions is staying in our mind. It just, I think this is the principle of our brain, that if there is an emotion, if there is I don't know, those hormones, whatever, then it goes to the box of long-term memory. If there are no emotions behind, it goes to the box of the short-term memory. So try to create those emotions. If you can show something, show it. So despite we're limited with tools sitting here in front of the screen, but try to show it. You know, it helps. I remember this, I think it was a TED talk or whatever conference that Bill Gates did about the malaria. Maybe you watched it as well, when he brought mosquitoes, oh my God, to the presentation, explaining how important is the vaccination against the malaria. I mean, everyone, I think, would remember this forever, those mosquitoes. So I'm not encouraging you to do this kind of weird things, but if it's possible to show something, just do it. And add emotions to your numbers. If you still think that you will use any statistic after what's already told about, you know, it being made up, so add emotions. You can also do some shock things, and this is pretty much about the storm, but be careful, not too much drama, because it might be absolutely controversial reaction. And the tone of voice, what is actually extremely important while having a virtual presentation, especially, and again, getting back to Alina's question, that the tone of voice should be chosen properly, because you need to understand what you want your audience to feel and to think, and this is the tone of voice you choose. It helps. Demonstrate benefits. This also is pretty much memorable thing. If your audience can try it and experience, this is then super good. If we don't have an opportunity to give them to touch, then it's a little bit different thing, but try to demonstrate benefits of your ideas, of your solutions. Obviously, we have many tools to be used while delivering your presentation. You can, I don't know, be wearing a huge costume of iPad or of, I don't know, whatever, super creative hologram of someone is doing a presentation, so on and so forth. People will remember how creative you are. Don't overdo with this, because the main thing is not to entertain, but still deliver a message. So creativity is to be in a balance as well. And one thing I want you also to remember about being memorable. This is also related to our brain, that we really remember better. I mean, I put it 2 times better, but now I'm not sure. I mean, this statistic. So you just remember better something what was said at the beginning and it was said at the end. So that's why you put the most of your efforts to the part from the beginning. And it was, I think, the problem and the context we were sharing. And the end, the wrap up. So these are those key parts of your pitch, which are to be remembered by your audience. And there is another thing which is helping a lot, even in a 5-minute speech, then you do a repetition. So you repeat some things several times. I'm not encouraging you to do a Martin Luther King speech with "I have a dream," but if it fits you, do "I have a dream." But you can repeat the key messages just to ensure that it's remembered well. And this is what I already said, just don't be over creative. So it's like, do not oversimplify and do not be over creative. This doesn't help because you might dilute the message in the super creative way of your delivery. Remember your goals. You always bridge the things and tools you're using to the goals which you want to achieve. It helps. Do storytelling. This was also mentioned by Pete. Why we need the storytelling? What do you think? Why it's such a buzzword now and everywhere we're listening? Tell the story, do the storytelling, learn how to storytell, remember all the stories because you might use it and so on and so forth. So why do you think it's important to do a storytelling? People love stories. People love stories. That's true. To keep attention. Yeah. What else? What is so good about the story? Because then we need to use imagination. Exactly. So we are provoking imagination and inspiration. And it's easy to remember. And yeah, and it's better memorable, and it helps to make a connection, and it's more memorable than numbers only. Oh, absolutely right. And I do not really think that numbers are at least somehow memorable. So it's super unless there is a financial guy, we remember about this guy all the time, keeping in mind. Thank you. You're absolutely right. This helps to create, I call it energy friendly atmosphere. It's not about, this super, I don't know, sophisticated thing about the energy, but the atmosphere you are creating while delivering your pitch, it helps a lot for you to be impactful. So I call it energy friendly when it creates a proper atmosphere, the inspiration, the motivation to listen to you, the imagination is working, it's memorable, it's interesting, and people love stories, as easy as it is. Absolutely right. It was from Mariola, I think. And with the story, we not only entertain, because we remember that at least for this case was the hackathon, the entertainment is not the main goal. But there is an idea we want to share, and the stories, they really help. They help to share experience. If you are giving those I messages and sharing your experience, it's so much more empathy on the other side than just, showing nice visuals, nice numbers, so on and so forth. It helps us to get a buy-in. It really helps us to ensure that it will be remembered. And it helps us to present ourselves as well. Don't forget, I mean, that we are also promoting ourselves, our team, and our work while doing a pitch. 3 things, get back to this nice principle of 3 things about the storytelling. So to make it working and to make it impactful, the story should support only one key message. So it shouldn't be analogy and fairy tale about everything. So it should be a story which illustrates one key message. And it's reinforcing your message, obviously. And there is a structure, very easy one, which is also consists of 3 things. I love it. And endless 3 things story. We start with the hook, or if we call it very boring, then it's beginning, but it's a hook or storm or whatever. And there is a middle and the end. And here, when we start the story, and we will already discussing this at the very beginning, that there should be a hook. I don't know, there are some different examples of this kind of hooks, and you will find your own and you will create your own. For example, very easy, simple things like when I have a session about the creating a working and effective CV while looking for a job, for example, I start with this. It's my first slide. What is this 60? And it started a little bit people, you know, to think about and so on and so forth. And then you create a drama by saying, you know, this is the average time that recruiter is investing in your CV is 60 seconds. So now we will learn how to make it proper so that they invest more time in your resume, for example. But I mean, it's really, I mean, not a super rocket science to show the 60, but oh my God, it works amazing. So find your way to get your audience engaged from the very beginning, and the same with the end. Something which we already experienced today and it worked. You might ask, what if there is only one thing I want you to remember, then this will be this and that. Just once again, you're reinforcing your message. Use it, it works. Absolutely. I strongly recommend you. But if you find a better way, it's up to you. If not, this works all the time. And the most important, most stressful thing when we are talking about the 5-minute pitch is the Q&A session afterwards. I mean, there is a nightmare of no questions, because if you ask, do you have any questions? No questions in the audience. Oh my God, this is a little bit disappointing, but it might be a positive approach of tackling this problem, saying, okay, maybe I was explaining everything so good. There are no questions, but doesn't help a lot. Still a little bit of disappointment, but more often there are questions. The questions are absolutely different. So how we deal with them? What are the key principles? Be prepared. And it was already mentioned by Pete again, so that you rehearse. Each of you rehearse 100,000 times, you rehearse, and you anticipate what questions might appear. You might even present it to your grandmother to check whether it's simply enough and people understand it, and maybe some questions will arrive to your table as well. So it helps. So rehearse, do not avoid this. Then think what will be the best outcome, or what is the worst scenario, so that you at least prepared how to react. So if you hear it in the middle of your Q&A session that no, the idea is extremely stupid, so what do you do with this? So just I'm not preparing you for this. This will never happen for sure, but just you always have to have like a best and worst scenario. It helps to feel confident. And don't try to be perfect. Oh my God, I mean, who needs to be perfect? We are living in a world of super perfect imperfections. So even with questions, I mean, don't try to answer everything, you know, and as perfect as you can. No need, doesn't work, doesn't help, just makes you a little bit more nervous than you already are. And the psychological thing, maybe you are superheroes and you don't feel like this, but being honest with you, sometimes I feel like some questions sounds like they really doubt that I'm an expert in this topic. And this is painful thing. So don't try not to take these questions as adults. So I don't know how to make it. I don't have a, how to say it, 100% working life hack, but at least try not to consider questions as doubts. So work on this and develop yourself as a personality to consider this differently. Consider questions as their interest, just to understand it better. This is absolutely into the growth mindset approach. If they ask questions, definitely they just want to know more and get deeper into the details of my super cool idea or idea of our team. Another things, when it comes to the Q&A, there are some rules. And if we set the norms from the very beginning, like saying, for example, that all the questions are coming after my pitch, I mean, everyone who is participating has to respect, even if it's super cool, very important jury. If there is a question in the middle of your pitch, do not hesitate to say, as we already agreed, all the questions are coming after our pitch and so on. So respect rules, keep timing. If there are 5 minutes for questions, there are 5 minutes for questions. As easy as it is, this is the rule of the format of our Q&A. This is, while saying thank you for your question, is not about encouraging you to be polite, because you are, I think, polite enough. But this is a nice thing to get a little bit of time to think about. So even if you are saying a short sentence, it gives you a little bit more time to think what to answer. So that's why it's a very good life hack, as well as saying such a nice question. Thank you for this. And I was expecting this question to come and all this kind of stuff. But I actually once experienced a very weird situation in my life. I mean, I was not in the middle of the conversation. I was in the audience in my previous job. And this is a very controversial, it was a very controversial new launch in the very controversial industry, let's put it this way. It was a question from the audience, extremely provocative. It was on the edge of being too bold, you know, it was, oh my God, it was such a question. I would call it kick-ass question if sorry for my French again. And the guy who was about to answer, he said like, oh, thank you, such a good question. I don't know what happened, but this guy who asked said, you know what? I didn't ask you to evaluate my question. I just asked you to answer this. It was such a unexpected and not really pleasant situation. So it could happen as well. So that's why be careful with giving, you know, evaluation of the questions, or try to make it as neutral as possible and try to somehow to scan, you know, the atmosphere and the tone of the question. If question is complicated, super complicated or super deep, and it was already mentioned today as well, no need to improvise. This is most probably not the best time to do a stand-up. Take your time, promise to get back with an answer, or discuss it during the coffee break, or you can ask someone from your team. But since we remember, don't be perfect. No need to create an answer if there is no answer. If question is not a question, but sharing an opinion, there are some people sometimes in the jury who are asking, not for asking, but for sharing, I don't know, feedback or their experiences. What to do with this? What do you think? Put in the chat your thoughts. If it's not a question, but sharing an opinion, what do we do? Thanks for sharing. Just thank for the comment. Appreciate. Build on it. If possible, it's good. If it's beneficial for you, very good. Yeah, but don't forget that you are allowed to interrupt, because this might be a long story, you know, with the sharing this opinion. So you can always interrupt because you are keeping the timing, and you can propose alternative timing to discuss. You appreciate You maybe build on it later on, but don't let them take you away from the line or from the key message you are delivering. If person asks many questions, this is amazing situation actually, because you have a choice. Normally there is a question you have to answer. If there are many questions, don't try to remember, choose the easiest one. This is the problem of those people who are asking. So you answer the easiest one or the first one, and then they repeat it, or maybe do not. Sometimes they forget also those questions they were asking if there are many. So benefit from this. If it's overloaded with details, sometimes it's happening. So because consider that people in the jury or in whatever your future presentations not always are super masters in asking questions, because this is the art of asking questions as well and sharing the feedback, all this kind of stuff. They might don't know how to ask a proper question in a constructive way, and they overload it with details that you just lose, you know, the key thing. Try to get something which you think is the key and answer, or rephrase and ask whether you understood it correctly or not. And then you might most probably will find something which you could address. And if the question is unexpected, yeah, it might happen. So hopefully you will anticipate everything, but if not, just make a pause. If there is idea which you can catch, answer. If not, go to the upper part of the list. Do not improvise. Take your time, get back with an answer. And super important thing, it's amazing opportunity to repeat your key message. So if you are not sure that you delivered it properly, or you not sure that it was enough of repetition, this is perfect opportunity for you to repeat. Use it. Use questions and benefit from them. And team roles, last but not least, this was already also mentioned today. Split your responsibility based on your expertise. If there is a technical subject expert, very good, then he will be responsible, or he or she will be responsible for the technical part, as well as during the Q&A session. There should be a pitch leader, let's call him or her project manager. This is the person who most probably afterwards will lead the execution and will build the pitch together. And there is a presenter or many presenters. Maybe you are lucky enough that in your group there is someone who was born, you know, with the talent of delivering public speeches. Then I can only be jealous. If not, you know how to do it, you can learn it. And if you are many presenters, then split the roles properly. But do not forget that this is only 5-minute pitch. And if you are 5 of you in the team, and if every one of you will start saying something, this will look like a Christmas celebration in a kindergarten when you are wearing the penguin costume, saying a phrase, then another one wearing a costume of, I don't know whom, the Christmas tree, saying another one, and it's sometimes a disaster. So be sure that if you do like this, that it works properly, goes smoothly, you enjoy it, and everything will not be ruined if someone forgets, you know, a word or the flow. So that's why most probably it's better to find those people who can be the presenter. I have a question. There should be only one presenter. It's question not to me, it's question to Ola actually. And there is a discussion in the chat for you guys to know if you are not participating. But I would say that it's up to you, but do not overdo, you know. So you have a chance to present your team while presenting the team, for example, on the slide. So everyone will get their part of the glory, but do not overdo with the presentation. So just really think about how it will be in the most efficient way. So if every one of you wants to say something, so try then to put it into the format which will be digestible. Because if the voice is jumping from one person to another, especially in a virtual presentation, it's tough to follow. So try to keep the balance. So I would not say one person or two and that's it, It's up to you, but there is a nice thing which always helps, which calls common sense. So use it every time. I mean, it helps a lot, whatever you do. Yeah, and the same with the questions. So if there are questions which are about the technical thing, so you address it to the technical subject expert and so on and so forth. And if you have a list of questions, and you have it because you anticipated all the questions, so then you can split also those questions in advance. If there is I don't know, about the customer, about the research, about the context, about the execution later on. So you just split it in advance and feel comfortable and confident, even in a virtual format. So, and to wrap up it with the rules of 3, but it will be a new rule of 4. Be prepared and structured. Be concise and memorable. It doesn't, I mean, it sounds very easy. It's not that easy in reality, but tell the story and benefit from Q&A. And it's not even a 5th, but this is a super important thing from my point of view. Just do everything with belief and conviction. If you do it, then it works. Then the story works, then you are memorable, then you are prepared, then the questions are cool and you are cool while answering. It works only when you believe in what you're saying and the idea you are presenting is something which is really cool, really important, and solve all the problems of your customers. And now it's actually the time to ask questions if you have any. I would really appreciate if there are, you can unmute yourself or you can use the chat, whatever is preferable. No questions. Now I need to apply my growth mindset approach and thinking that everything was such a crystal clear that there are no questions and you understood everything.
Maybe I can just emphasize one of the points that you mentioned before, more than a question. You said, you know, don't be afraid of not having all the answers or feeling like you need to answer everything in the pitch. And I think that's really true. So let's remember that we're presenting a prototype, and by definition, a prototype is not a final product. So we are not supposed to have all the answers. And I think going in with that mindset will be really helpful during the pitch to be as convinced as possible of the idea that we have, because ultimately this is what we're selling, the idea. So just to keep that in mind, because I did go through a similar hackathon before, and this is what we're presenting. You know, we were actually making it with our hands. It wasn't any final product. And we just need to remember that.
Yes, thank you. That's very, very cool thing, because really we're living in a world of MVPs. So then the jury as well should somehow challenge their questions. They're asking on them in the phase of just creating a prototype. So yeah, absolutely right. Fully agree with you. Thank you for this. I've got not a question, but a feedback. Very comprehensive presentation, cleared lots of questions on the way. Thank you, Mate. Appreciate it. Any else you want to ask? Anything you want to share your previous experiences? Maybe something which you saw didn't work and is nothing with the reality. Maybe this kind of feedback. Everything is appreciated. Okay, so I will not torture you anymore. But last but not least, while wishing you good luck for your hackathon, first of all, I want to thank you, to say you, if you need the home use test of your new sneakers, you know where to find me. So you have a panel of for the research. So be sure, I'm happy to do this for you. And I would need your feedback while using this QR code. Is an anonymous, very short questionnaire. Please do a favor. Feedback is extremely important. If you don't do this, it's another karma thing. You will never get the feedback on your presentations you will deliver in your life till the end of your life. So I'm expecting you to share your feedback, and then it will work. There are some questions to Ola as well, the 5-minute pitch, 5-minute Q&A. You see, it's sometimes this 5-minute Q&A session will seem to you like eternity, you know, it's like an endless thing because you might be a little bit in stress. So guys, if no questions there, if you already did the only thing I asked you to do, it's the feedback. I would like to thank you for being active. It was a pleasure to participate a little bit in this amazing Adidas world. And I wish you a lot of success for an amazing brand and for you guys. Stay cool. I hope you will get lots of ideas and you will make your customers even loving you even more than they do now. So it's not a brand, it's a love mark. So good luck. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Super good.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you, guys. Hope to see
Bye-bye.
you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Dziękuję. Actually, I didn't use.
My question, the session was recorded?
Yeah.
Okay.
We will share the link afterwards.
To the session or the presentation as well?
To this session, and when it comes to presentation, Natasha,
I think it will be the short memo for you with the key things.
Yeah.
Checklist for you, you know, to use it while preparing your pitch. Yeah, so
maybe some PDF file would be very useful.
yes, exactly. This will be the PDF without my amazing narrative, but yeah, with only with some.
Okay,
good
thank you for
points.
that again.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
good. So thank you once again, Natasha. I decided to stay.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Very
Yeah,
nice session, actually.
Thank you.
It was super cool. I see Agata is still online, but I think she dropped out probably the computer and she's somewhere around. But very good presentation.
Thank you so much.
Great to see people engaged that much. A lot of great hacks. So yeah, very useful. Thank you very much.
Only you see what's happening. I forgot to switch on the light and I'm disappearing, you know,
yeah,
slowly because it's getting dark. And I was like, oh my God, what if it's like, you know, you don't see me at all. But anyways, so when do you expect us to share those this PDF, Ola? Tell me, because
as soon as the better, actually. So please tell me when it's possible, as a hackathon will be taking place next week, the 24th, 26th, the pitch presentation 26th, so it will be great.
Okay, let me share with you beginning of the next week.
Cool. And,
okay.
And the recording, is it possible to share with us just after the session?
I think it should be done by my colleague, and she was recording and still recording. Most probably, yes, because it's not on my computer. So it's the colleague from Developer Polska doing this. And yes, most probably. Yeah, I hope so. Okay, anyways, I'm disappearing now literally because it's dark. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure. And I really love you guys. I mean, as a love mark. So it was a pleasure for me to participate. So hope to see you again.
Yes, thank you very much. And see you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye, Ola. Bye. It was nice to meet you. Bye.